It's time for another spooky adventure with haunted history. Hey everybody, we are here for another episode of Haunted History with the Hometown Historian. Sticking with the H's, we're here at Harper's Tavern in Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. This particular tavern was actually built back in 1804, so well over 200 years old. There's actually an old inn that's up there that I think this predates by about 15 to 20 years, maybe 30 years. But we're here specifically about a number of ghost stories at this really iconic restaurant. And you know, it's no surprise considering the history that's around this area and how long it's been here. So this Harper's Tavern, the building that's there currently is 1804, as I said, was when that was built. It's not the original building. The original settlement or homestead tavern that you would have seen would have been around 1730 by Adam Harper, which is who Harper's Tavern is named after. And at the time in 1730, that would have been the furthest northwest of any post from Philadelphia. So this was truly the frontier. And you know, around that time, he wound out building a fort known as Harper's Fort, much like Reed's Fort or Patton's, or there's a couple other ones that they were basically local guys that were, you know, the supreme citizen, if you will. Whether they were the commander of the local militia or whatever they would make these forts. Now, this particular fort was not right there at the settlement. It was actually where the hotel is, just west of present-day Harper's Tavern. It was actually up on the hill above the Swatera, sort of looking over that. It had a really good vantage point of the creek because of the importance to the local tribes. And also because of its position would have been a really good place to protect everybody. They also used the original tavern. I think I used sort of as a place of refuge as well because it was a rather large and imposing log structure. So there's a lot of history going through. The Union Canal would have gone through there along the Swatera Creek. So it would have been a place that people would have stopped, you know, for all those years that it was in operation, 60 some odd years, as a place, as an inn, place to eat, take a break. Probably got used as a trading post as well. I wouldn't be shocked at that time. But this was really a happening place, and it was the great-grandson or great-grandson of Adam Harper, John Harper, who built the current structure that's there today. So no surprise whatsoever that there's a bunch of these really neat sort of ghost stories. Some somewhat vague as sort of a passing by thing, but they have a unique story, and it'd be sort of cool to know if there's a bit more to these stories, why these ghosts are here in particular. So let's tell these. The first of these stories is actually sort of weird. I guess this all comes from Lebtown. They did an article on this time of year. They do a lot of the ghost stories. We did a bunch of them for the haunted Lebanon Valley. But the story goes, one of the ladies that's had been there for like a bartender for about 15 years. Now she only does it every little once in a while. But she has seen a couple of these different weird and odd things. One of them happens to be in the second floor is actually a dining room. Now it's used for special occasions or overflow dining. And on this particular day, there was a lot of overflow dining. And, you know, like in old houses, you have drafts. And there's this one door in particular you get drafts from. And a number of people were not complaining necessarily, but just saying, hey, there's a draft. Plus, we're hearing all kinds of weird noises, and there was a poor lady that was right near there that was starting to get, I guess, a little freaked out because she kept on hearing all kinds of weird whispers and noises. So she went to go close his door, and when she went to close his door, this loud, almost like a tugboat horn went off. From what I'm aware, I really don't think that they had horns or anything like that on the Union Canal. It would have probably been more bells and things like that, maybe a whistle. I don't know, something of that nature. But it freaked her out and it was loud. So there was no mistaking it. So she shut the door and just sort of turned around and it was just absolute quiet. Everyone else had heard it too. And she sort of, I guess she made a little bit of a joke because this poor lady that was so freaked out, she sort of made a joke about it and got her to laugh and then calmed her down. But just one of the weird oddities of something that happened here at Harper's Tavern. So this next story, this is that connection I talked about, the Union Canal. Would have come by here. This would have certainly been a stop. This was a very familiar, never a very big town, but significant enough. And then obviously having an inn tavern there, this is a place people would have stopped along their journey, depending on how long it was on the Union Canal, because we would have been heading at this stage either from the Middletown region or heading to the Middletown region. This is on the western branch of the Union Canal. The eastern branch went from Reading to Union Waterworks, and then from Union Waterworks to Middletown along with Swatara. So it's not out of the question that something like this makes sense, if you will, that you would have had these guys that had, say in life, had fond memories of this place, of this being a break time and whatever else, and maybe even a little bit of a romance by the third story. So this second story is really, really unique, and it actually happened at the bar. Now, like most restaurants, you're not allowed to smoke anymore. And this particular time, the same waitress or bartender, she smelled cigarette smoke, and it was very, very prominent. So there was no mistaking it. And there were only two ladies at the bar, and when she went in to go check, she was sort of like they were sort of had this weird smile, and she said, "Were you ladies smoking?" I'm like, "No, but you smell it, yeah." And the one lady said, "Well, it was the older gentleman that had been sitting there at the bar. He had been smoking. He got up right before you came in and left, and he went out that way." So she went looking for this guy, couldn't find him anywhere. She went back and was like, I've not seen any evidence of somebody being here. And the other lady said, "Well, I didn't see him either. But my friend, she sees weird, eerie things. So your guess is as good as mine." But it was a guy. He had mutton chops. He dressed in period clothes of that time. It would have been 1860 to 1880s at the end of the Union Canal. But you think about it, this is only ever seen once that they know of, but it's another one of those eerie stories of just a random ghost or a haunt that happened here at Harper's Tavern. So this last tale of Harper's Tavern, this one's the most frequent, and this one actually there's a painting that hangs in there, or at least had, that makes you think that this ghost, might have been around for quite a while. And it makes you think, what's the story? Is there a connection to any of the others? Who knows? But this is the one that they really say is the permanent haunt, if you will, because a lot of people have noticed it, felt it. You get the chills. You see that thing out of the corner of your eye, seems to be moving up the stairs or whatever it is. This one's intriguing, really, really intriguing, and really makes you think. So this is the painting. You actually have you see this circle, and then there'll be one that's a little closer up, where you can actually see almost like a ghostly figure in the second floor story window uh, on the far right that makes you think, hmm. So the story goes, a lot of people, especially around this one staircase, you'll feel a presence, or you'll see sort of that out of the corner of your eye type a person moving by, or even say a ghostly visage of like a you see through type shadow that goes through. And once again, the lady that's been there for 15 years has said she's felt this several times and seen whatever it is, it just sort of goes through. And nothing malicious, nothing, just somebody that
a presence that seems to be there. Uh, Really, really interesting because, like I said, in his painting, you can see close up here. There seems to be something there. Yeah, it could be the artwork or whatever it is, but it's just sort of freakish that there's something there, and like how long and how old this painting is, that they've known of this presence or this person, this lady of the stairwell, that seems to have taken up this residence and for quite a while. So, was this somebody who was a romance of the sailor that was there smoking? Did something bad happen? Something tragic? She drowned in a Swatara Creek. Why is she particularly fond of remaining there at Harper's Tavern? We may never know, but there is certainly the lady of the stairwell that seems to be there quite often. What's her connection to these other stories? Are there any? Will we ever know? Well, go and check out Harper's Tavern and see for yourself.
So those are the haunted tales of Harper's Tavern. It's a really cool place to eat. It has over 200 years, once again, of history. There's just so much there to see and experience, but pretty unique. And like I said earlier, you sort of wonder, are there connections between these and just the history that's gone through that area? Who's all been there? What all connections are there? Who knows? Regardless, there is certainly some haunted history there at Harper's Tavern. Thanks for coming along once again, and we'll see you all about town.